Hello, everyone. Sue.oneschuk here, continuing the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, just adjusting this. All right. So today we're here to for the lesson 169 and in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. And the lesson today is, by grace I live, by grace I am released. And it says, grace is an aspect of the love of God, which is most like the state prevailing in the unity of truth. It is the world's most lofty aspiration, for it leads beyond the world entirely. It is past learning, yet the goal of learning for grace cannot come until the mind prepares itself for true acceptance. Grace becomes inevitable instantly in those who have prepared a table where it can be gently laid and willingly received. An altar, clean and holy for the gift. So it says there, grace is simply there instantly. Where, whenever we are ready to receive it. Learning is necessary to produce that state of willingness, which is to be willing to receive. And then grace pours in. We do not have to do anything to bring it in. But we do have to progress through a learning or an unlearning process, to remove our unwillingness, to receive. So it goes on to say that grace is the acceptance of the love of God within a world of seeming hate and fear. By grace alone, the hate and fear are gone, for grace presents a state so opposite to everything the world contains that those whose minds are lighted by the gift of grace can believe the world of fear, or could, see, there goes the ego again, not could believe, it is lighted by the gift of grace, cannot believe the world of fear is real. Let me read that again. It's just very interesting how that happens when you're reading. So often. Notice it again. I've said it before. Notice when you're reading the course, how sometimes it may not seem to be fitting because the ego is actually, not necessarily putting words in your mouth, but you're reading the opposite. Again, we're so programmed and conditioned by the ego. So it says, by grace alone, the hate and fear are gone, for grace presents a state so opposite to everything the world contains that those minds who are lighted, that are in the light by the gift of grace, cannot believe the world of fear is real. This is the key. This is what it is to remember and reflect on as we're doing this lesson. Says grace is not learned. The final step must go beyond all learning. Grace is not the goal this course aspires to attain. Yet we prepare for grace in that an open mind can hear the call to waken. It is not shut tight against God's voice. It has become aware that there are things it does not know, and thus is ready to accept a state completely different from experience with which it is familiarly at home. So learning is the goal of the course. And grace is not learned, as it says here in this paragraph. And it cannot be taught. The learning of the course, which is really, as I said, unlearning, prepares us for grace by opening our mind and awareness to the fact that there are things that we don't know. Just take a look at how often you're coming from I know. In a conversation, even when people are speaking and you know, you're back and forth, you say, I know. That's all ego. And so it says the extent to which our minds, you know, again, what we don't know, I'm going to say that again. There are things that we don't know, the extent to which our minds have been closed. Again, we're opening our minds here in the course. You know, we close our minds, we shut tight against God's voice. And this is what we must learn. You know, where have we been shutting out God? It's all part of our day-to-day in the practice of the course. And again, you know, we're not necessarily going to be getting all this immediately. I still work at this. Although, you know, I find myself more in the space of love and peace, you know, as I continue to do this work. But, you know, I've had to continually undo my fears. And it's not about, you know, trying to fix outside of me. It's about the mind. And this is what this course is about. So it says, we have perhaps appeared to contradict our statement that the revelation of the Father and the Son as one has been already set. But we have also said the mind determines when that time will be and has determined it. And yet we urge you, it says here, to bear witness to the word of God, to hasten the experience of the truth. When we're listening for that voice more and more, as it says, it's going to hasten our experience to truth and speed its advent into every mind that recognizes that truth's effects on you, that recognizes truth's effects on you. Others will see it in you. And that has an effect, whether they see it or not, it does have an effect on them as well. So it says, oneness is simply the idea that God is. Again, it's saying oneness equals God is. And God is divine love and union. But again, our private minds, our egoic mind does not know love or grace. And, you know, the thoughts of separation that we have had, that we continue to have, again, believing that we're separated from God, that's the one problem. You know, they have kept us from grace. And again, it said in the first paragraph, you know, those who have prepared a table, we are preparing the table through our undoing of the ego and practicing these lessons and practicing the course. We're undoing our private mind. Remember, we don't have private minds. We do not have private minds. It's one mind. We're undoing our private agendas and our conflicting goals that we have that keep us separate. So again, I said oneness is simply the idea that God is. And in his being, he encompasses all things. No mind holds anything but him. That's all that's real. That's all that's true. And we say God is, and then we cease to speak. For in that knowledge, words are meaningless. We try to put words around all of this. We try to put words around the experience of God. We try to put words around the experience of love. We try to put words around the experience of grace. This is all as we change our mind to really be in the sense of, or the space or the experience, the heartfelt experience. Then it says, we say God is, and then we cease to speak. For in that knowledge, again, words are meaningless. There are no lips to speak then. So again, if we're trying to express what our experience of God is, there's no words. Just look how often we get into this and we're so analyzing the ego over and over again. And it says, no part of mind sufficiently distinct to feel that it is now aware of something not itself. We are love. We are sinless. We are holy. We are created in the image and likeness of God. It has united with its source in the oneness. And like its source itself, it merely is. We are like our source. I am as God created me. It says we cannot speak nor write nor even think of this at all. It comes to every mind with total recognition that its will is God's, has been completely given and completely received. And we just need to open our minds and our hearts. It returns the mind to the endless present, where the past and the future cannot be conceived. It lies beyond salvation, past all thought of time, forgiveness, and the holy face of Christ. The Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father as his Father has in him. The world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. This is beyond experience we try to hasten. Yet forgiveness, taught and learned, brings with it the experiences which bear witness that the time, the mind itself, determined to abandon all but this is now at hand. It's now. It's right now. We do not hasten it. In that what you will offer was concealed from him who teaches what forgiveness means. So I invite you to look at it. It's our attachment. It's our addiction to guilt, our addiction to fear, our addiction to suffering. You know, we can be free of all this as we recognize that we are caught up in that guilt and fear and suffering. And, you know, when we recognize it, then we can release it. So recognize it without judgment. Remember that this course is a process. You know, seeing the ego thought system, you know, without making it right or wrong by judging ourselves, as I just said, by judging it or judging ourselves. Again, this is all a process. And, you know, again, we need this contrast in order to undo it. We need to recognize the contrast, you know, and again, it's not about changing the form. We keep trying to change the form out there in the world or the form in our behavior. It's about changing our mind. And it's all through forgiveness. And forgiveness, which is the learning process that we're going through as we do this course. And that forgiveness is the preparation for grace. So it says, all learning was already in his mind, accomplished and complete. He recognized all that time holds and gave it to all minds that each one might determine from a point where time was ended, where it is released to revelation and eternity. It's that space of revelation. The revelation is from God. And again, there's no past, no future, there's only now. And now is eternal. We have repeated several times before that you but make a journey that is already done. It's already done for us. So it says, it goes on to say, for oneness must be here. Whatever time the mind has set for revelation is entirely irrelevant to what must be a constant state, forever as it always was, forever to remain as it is now. We merely take a part assigned long since and fully recognized as perfectly fulfilled by God and by who wrote salvation's script in his creator's name and in the name of his creator's son. There is no need to further clarify what no one in the world can understand. It's way beyond measure, way beyond what we can understand with this egoic mind. When revelation of our oneness comes, it will be known and fully understood. Now we have work to do. For those in time can speak of things beyond and listen to words which explain what is to come is past already. Yet what meaning can the words convey to those who count the hours still and rise and work and go to sleep by them, all by the time, all by the hours? So it says, suffice then that you have work to do to play your part. The ending must remain obscure to you until your part is done. It does not matter, for your part is still what all the rest depends on. As we take the role assigned to you, salvation comes a little nearer each uncertain heart that does not beat as yet in tune with God. I'm going to read that again. As you take the role assigned to you, salvation comes a little nearer each uncertain heart that does not beat in time with God as yet. Forgiveness is the central theme that runs throughout salvation, running all its parts in meaningful relationships. The course it runs directed and its outcome sure. And now we ask for grace, the final gift salvation can bestow. Experience that grace provides will end in time, for grace foreshadows heaven, yet does not replace the thought of time, but for a little while. The interval suffices. It is here that miracles are laid, to be returned by you from holy instances you receive. A holy instance occurs in forgiveness, and when we are experiencing the atonement, being without guilt. And through grace in your experience to all those who see the light that lingers in your face. What is the face of Christ but his who went a moment into timelessness and brought a clear reflection of the unity he felt an instant back to bless the world? How could you finally attain it forever while a part of you remains outside, unawakened, and in need of you as witness to the truth? Be grateful to return as you were glad to go an instant and accept the gifts that grace provided. You carry them back to yourself, and revelation stands not far between. Its coming is endured. We ask for grace and for experience that comes from grace. We welcome the release it offers everyone. We do not ask for the unaskable. We do not look beyond what grace can give. For this, we can give in the grace that has been given us. Our learning goal today does not exceed this prayer. Yet in the world, what could be more than what we ask this day of him who gives the grace we ask, as it was given him? And here's the prayer. By grace I live. By grace I am released. By grace I give. By grace, I will release. I'm going to read that again. By grace, I live. By grace, I am released. By grace, I give. By grace, I will release. So this, what I'm going to, this quote here is, which is, I'm going to read it first and I'll tell you where it's from in the text. The quote is, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, which is you and I, is to accept the atonement for ourselves. It says for himself or herself. Again, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. And that comes from chapter 2 in the text, section 5 and paragraph 5. And I'm going to conclude with this. You save the world by changing your own mind, because that is where the world is, in your mind. There is only one mind and one of us here. So again, remember, you are the projector. Remember the film projector? You are the projector of the movie you're seeing out there. You are the projector of the film on the screen. All right. Thank you again for being here. And please like, comment, share, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. That's all below here on YouTube. And also that's under the description there, where it says more. Just click on the more and you'll see that. See something below that as well, which also has references in there. And also I appreciate any donations, and it gives you directions as well below here in the description below the YouTube video. And yeah, again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I think I just said that. And I look forward to being with you for the next lesson, which is lesson 170. And after that, we start another review. So you have a love-filled day. And I extend much love to you from my heart to yours. Bye for now.